Today we're going to be talking to Jason and Michael. I'm pumped about this one. We've been working together, what is it, about, coming out for 2 years now? No, maybe a year and a half?
At least a year and a half, yeah.
And I still remember the first time we sat down and had a chat. I was in, I think, the Adelaide Convention Centre, and I had to interrupt halfway through because I'd run out of power. So I'm running to try and find some power. But since then, man, it feels like you guys have, I mean, I know, particularly Michael, you're very impatient to get to where you want to, and you're very structured. But when you look back on it, there's so much that's happened and so much the business has evolved and grown. So I want to sort of dive deep into that today and go everything from how you got started, what on earth you were thinking, two brothers starting a business together. Because most people, you know, they say don't start businesses with friends. It's a good way to lose friends. But I don't know if that works for family. But then we're going to talk about, you know, the stuff you've done in client engagement. I'm really keen to talk about the service model stuff and really dive deep into, you know, the business you've built, which is ultimately about, you know, helping families take control, helping, I think, as you said, Michael, people just like you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So before we kick off, I just want to double check two things. First thing is everything's looking good. The audio is good. The pitch is good. Just head over to the chat box and just type, yep, good to go, G to G, happy as Larry, whatever your call sign of preference is. We've got a good to go from yep, a good to go from John, good to go. Okay, that means everything must be going well and looking good. Do me a favor. I would love this to be an interactive thing. I've got a bunch of questions, but I reckon we'll get a lot more out of it if you can pop forward some questions you want to know. So just do me a favor, in the chat box, type, what's the main thing that drove you to come here today? In other words, other than to see Michael and Jason's faces, literally, you cannot talk to anybody about Michael and Jason without following the word lovely guys. You should just get it on your, like in brackets on your business cards, gents. But what's the main thing you'd like to talk about today? What's the question you want to ask? What's the insight you want to gain? And that'll give myself, Michael and Jason, a bit of an idea as to what are the topics we should definitely go close to. So let me know. Type it in the chat box. What do you guys want to talk about today, most of all? Just out of interest? There you go. Put you on the spot.
We're totally unprepared, you know that, Stu. We're in your hands. We'll answer any questions, though.
Okay, cool.
He's unprepared because he just came back from the week away.
Yeah.
So he's like,
I got back last night, so I'm not. I haven't really thought heaps about this. I don't need to. We can just tell the story.
You've been to enough of these to know that preparation is not required. Brian would like to know a lot about your vision for yourselves 5 years from now. James, interesting question. Wow, that sounds like a great name for a book. The Frustrations of Process. It sounds like a a high-end art film. But let's talk about that. John would love to know where they were, how Aldaria is helping gain traction and efficiencies. Hey, we're gonna have to talk about that one, obviously. Cool. All right, we've got a couple of things to start off with. So, as I said, if anything comes across your mind along the way, please feel free to pop it in the box and we'll pop it in there at the right time and the place. I'm going to take some notes as we go, but let's kick it off, gents. I would like to start from the beginning. Just give it a bit of background individually as to where you came from, how you found yourself in this particular neck of the woods. Michael, you were the first to arrive on the scene, so why don't you...
So I was in corporate. I ran IT projects for big corporates like banks and telcos. And I did that since I was at uni. At uni, I did a business systems degree, so technology and business degree. Kind of found my way into that field and then, got stuck in these big projects. And probably 10 years into my career, I found that it just wasn't very satisfying. The work really hard and it just wasn't the life that I wanted to live forever. But I had heaps of responsibilities and I didn't know what else to do. So for me, I was in tech, so I tried a couple of startups with friends, as you were talking about before.
Yeah.
And they really quickly broke, those startups. I wouldn't even call them startups. I think I would call them ideas or concepts that we kind of whiteboarded and talked through and tried to get something going on. Yeah. It wasn't that they were bad ideas. It's just that the two people, and this was two different ideas over a couple of years that I started them with, were really good mates, and we couldn't work out how to work together. In a way where we were kind of aligned and we were delivering in the same way and we kind of knew each other's roles. And a big part of that is never having run business before.
Yeah.
And not really being sure of it. And the other part is we were both working full time in both of those ideas. So a few years in, Jason and I started talking about, well, maybe we should do something together as brothers. And, what should we do? And I reckon it took us 2 years to get started. Was it about 2 years, Jay?
Yeah, lots of Sundays.
Yeah. So we did a bunch of stuff like working out why we would get into business in advice, and obviously a big part of that was driven through Jason's background. I'll let him talk about that. What makes sense for each of our perspective. We did like personality surveys and try to understand what's in it for us and what might break us. And like you said, we didn't want the business to have an impact on our relationship as family. So we spent a long time being cautious of it. And I'd just been through this experience with a couple of friends who I'm still friends with, but kind of broke down at the time. So yeah, it took us a while. The things that I really liked, and I'll talk about me personally, about advice is that you are helping people. So and we get a real buzz out of people winning and making change in their lives resulting from the advice we give.
Yep.
At the time, a big part for me was that it was a model that was already proven from a business perspective. So the startups that I ran were big risk, big reward type things.
Yep.
Shoot for the moon, and if you get there, you're going to be, the next Uber. But only the 0.15% gets there. This was a proven model, and I did like that we could design it in a way that it integrated with our lives, and that was really important. It still is really, really important.
Cool. Jason, so obviously you were in the industry before Michael, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So I'm just up to 10 years, just about now actually. So I've really different to Michael. I've never worked for a business that has more than 20 people in it. I never worked for a corporate. I never worked in the CBD or anything like that. So effectively, I worked at quite small financial planning practice, and then that business was licensed through AMP, and then AMP had this program where you kind of effectively start your own business, but it's still owned by AMP. Sorry?
Horizons.
Horizons, but then post Horizons, they've got this other thing, which is it's a startup offer that they run where you effectively buy into the AMP ethos, and you can start taking on some of their clients, and they give you a loan and etc. And in essence, you are running your own business, but with the AMP, overlooking and giving you some helpful hints on what you should and shouldn't do. And then, so I was doing that for a few years. And that was probably the couple of years that Michael and I were talking about what it would look like if we did something together.
Yep.
So my experience has just been an advisor. When I was the advisor by myself, not at another practice, I found that I probably didn't do as much work with clients and had heaps of other jobs to do, like I'll say running the business if you want. It was a very small business, so I wouldn't say it was that hard to run, but you still had things to do, and think about marketing and think about process and all that stuff. And I actually wasn't doing the bit that I loved. I was barely seeing clients, well, comparatively to now, if you like, or what I was doing prior to having my own show. Yeah, I wasn't seeing as many clients. I was separating my time in other areas.
Hey, I just want to welcome PJ. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Good to see you. Shane, dude, thanks for coming along. Glenn, Brian, if you've got any questions, pop them in the box. I'll ask them as I go. I want to ask a quick question. If there's anybody out there who works maybe watching later, they do work for somebody, or alternatively, if you're a business owner and you've got employees who maybe haven't done the business thing, what are the shifts that you found yourself making, mindset, or that, when you made that shift from being an employee to being your gig? What's the main thing you need to get your head around to be make it successful? So
it's hard to answer, but there's a book called the EMyth Revisited, which I'm sure heaps of people already read and everything, but it's so true. You can read the first half of it. And you just, it really talks about the different roles in a business, and you need to have them all to be successful. I only had one. I could be the technician. I could do the advice.
Yeah.
And the other stuff is really, really important. And I said the one thing that I would say to anyone who's trying to start their own, it's really hard to learn all those different roles and do them all. In fact, it might be impossible to do, broadly speaking. So that was something that I found. I found that the thing that I'd done for 10 years or for 8 years at the time, whatever it was, I was still good at. But the other things, so management and marketing and process, I had no experience in, and I wasn't good at it, and the business needed it.
Fair enough. So let's talk about the start. You sounds like you went through a bit of sitting down, and you mentioned you did psychometric testing and all this stuff as brothers. Talk to me about that.
That was really structured, right? So
yeah, that's not. Most people go, yeah, we're brothers, we know each other. Let's just kick it off. You guys,
You know me, I don't like to make mistakes, and you don't make mistakes in business. So we make heaps of them. Even though I don't like to make them, we make heaps of them. But when we were starting, and I'd already had a couple of rounds of, let's say, failing at other things. I didn't want it. I didn't want us to put our friendship under a lot of pressure. So we just kind of tried to work through what we both like and what we want to get out of the business. And I think it's a few years ago now. It's probably 3 or 4 years ago since we did this type of testing. We didn't do like a big Myers-Briggs or anything like that. We did some kind of online stuff. It was really about the conversation rather than analysing our personalities. But I think part of the outcome of that was to understand the roles that we would play in the business and what each other liked to do. And that kind of set us forward on this path of Jason playing that technical role, which was managing the advice and managing clients, and me focused on operations and growth of the business. And over that period, we've kind of, changed our view around the edges of that, but it still pretty much holds true that they're the roles that we play in the business.
Okay, so let's chat about this. Maybe I might ask this to Jason. Most businesses, when they kick off, right, they go through that phase, right, we've got to get the revenue in the door. And then they ideally get the much revenue to pay the bills, and they get some profit, and now they can start to, focus on systems and processes. You guys, from word go, you have got, you're in a situation that most businesses wouldn't dream of taking on board, a traditionally non-income producing member of staff, and you've got to pay yourself salaries. And Michael, you've got a family, and you've got financial responsibilities, the pair of you. Talk to me about the early stages of that decision. How did you make it work? Did you ever look on it and go, holy moly, we've bitten off more we can chew? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so we started, Michael and I are both laughing, but we started just doing whatever we could, right? Literally, if there was someone that wanted to talk to us that we thought we could, I want to say support, but yeah, get money in the door, we went out and did it. Driving around, I was at people's homes in the evenings. We just did whatever, and it sucked, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't what we got in the business for, and I can't remember how long in. It might have been 6 months in. Michael, I can't remember if I came back from somewhere or something happened. I might have come back from my honeymoon even actually. But it was came back from my honeymoon, and Michael's like, all right, this isn't what we signed up for. We went to have a steak dinner, and I remember the face.
I love the fact you remember it was a steak dinner. We had a steak dinner.
Yeah, we did.
Sounds like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Let's go have a steak dinner. Anyway, go on.
There's a couple elements. Michael can tell you one of the elements, because whenever I go away, he learns more about the business, but he can tell you that himself. But
I shake my head.
But we went and had a steak dinner, and we said, hey, this isn't right. Like, we effectively had no product. We weren't clear on what we were doing. We were doing different things to different people. Some things profitable, some things probably not profitable. It just didn't make sense.
Right.
So we decided that we were going to be really, really targeted, offer only one service to one specific group of people that are people like us, so young families, and we designed a one way of working with us. I'll get Michael to explain all the benefits of it, because he can explain how that supported the business and how we became really efficient because of it. There were some challenges with it too, right? So we couldn't provide advice to specific people because they had a transactional need that the business wasn't set up to provide. But it really gave us the chance to sign up really good clients, to really believe in the work we were doing at the time. And we have evolved from that now, but it still holds true pretty well that we offer broadly one way of working with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a game changer.
Okay.
That steak dinner was a game changer.
We were the total opposite of an efficient business. We were bespoke for everybody, probably, as Jason said, broadly unprofitable in the service that we offered. Because every time we spoke to a new client, we came up with something, a service for them that's brand new. And that hurt so badly. And I was like, how do we scale? Like, how do we do this over and over and over again?
Yeah.
So what we said is, let's just do one thing and do that one thing well to start with. We know the types of people that we want to work with, that make sense for us to work with, because we know their problems really well. So let's get deep on that demographic of people, which is the young families Jason mentioned. And let's have something that's designed so that when they come in, we had this kind of A4 folded brochure.
Yeah.
And when they came in, we put it, after we'd kind of gone through an initial process, we put it in front of them and said, these are the types of problems that we solve. This is the service that we offer you if you engage us. And this is how you would sign up. And broadly speaking, we had people who said, hey, that's all the problems I've got. Let's jump into it. I can't believe you know me so well. And people that said, I might have one of those, right? So we didn't sign up any of those people, but it was a really good learning process for us about understanding people's problems and being able to articulate those problems back to them and seeing how they respond to that. And we don't use that anymore, but I think we got a lot out of it. The other thing that made us efficient at is, once a client signed up, we could process them in the back end a bit easier. We didn't have all our systems in place, but everyone was kind of going through the same process, which, made heaps of sense.
Beautiful. Now, when was this? Just give me a date.
April 2016.
16. Yeah. Okay. The steak dinner, April 2016. So timeline on the wall, the steak. Cool. What other lessons did you? I mean, there must have been a bunch of other stuff you did along the way, which,
I know one.
Glorious failures, so to speak.
Apart from the bit when I go away, I think Michael should talk about when I go away. But the other thing, which is a massive learning, is because Michael's new to running small business, right? You've always been in big businesses.
Yeah.
So when we first started, you tried to learn all these new skills, heaps and heaps of new skills. I think you should talk about that, because that's been... Yeah.
So that lesson was the first one in my mind. You talked about your story about, kind of learning about you wanted to be the technician and that kind of stuff. With mine, when I started, I thought I could do everything, and I just learn it and do it, and I wouldn't need any help.
Yeah.
And that was and I still have this challenge, to be honest. That was a big mistake. I'm doing a lot better at it. So one of the things that I have no doubt, if we went back to the start again, and you get the right people around you, the right team is the only way to grow and scale our business, at least. And that is knowledge and skills. It's also support in executing. And you kind of have to build it up over time, because you don't have enough money to pay everybody. So you need to incrementally grow what you need support on. So we engage you, Stu. We've engaged a variety of marketing people along the way, all of who have performed in different levels. We have a really good team in the Philippines now, but we've tried that a few times with different people. In fact, I think staff and HR is something we could probably talk about at some point as a segment during this conversation, because it's definitely something we've learned stuff about.
So he's taking control already.
Well, I'm trying not to. So I'm trying not to take control of the conversation. I'm doing my best, Stu.
I know. It's killing you not to, isn't it?
You keep directing the questions to Jason. What's going on?
Who knows?
But yeah, I think, and there's probably other key. There's probably other lots of key areas of the business which you just can't be deep experts in. So that combining working at what you need to know and what you need to outsource, or brand and communications is another one that we found a really good outsource partner for. Combining that with knowing what you should work on and prioritize either right now or pretty much right now. That was the other key learning, because my thought is we should do everything at the same time. That's my natural instinct. As you know.
So how many projects you got this quarter? I've got 6. Oh, 6. Okay. Maybe 3? No, 6. We'll do 6.
And Stu, when I said that to you, we already cut 2 back. So I felt pretty good about saying 6.
Oh, brilliant. Love it.
Anyone who hasn't been experienced Stu's project, we try and every kind of 3 or 4 months put together a plan for the next 90 days and have between 1 and 3 projects. And Jason and I consistently, probably until the last quarter, have had at least 5 on our list. But I think that's a lesson that's hard to learn, but one that is important, because it's hard to be really successful. And when I say deep, I mean like not just at the surface level of doing something, get really successful and be an expert at it in a very short period of time. You need experience and knowledge. And the only way to get experience and knowledge is either to learn it yourself, which takes time. And if you're impatient like me, you can struggle with that, or it's to buy in that experience and knowledge. And that is, I think that's important to do, but you've just got to then balance how many things you're doing, what the business can accept from a change perspective. And we're definitely a lot better at that now than we have been.
I really buy into Tony Robbins' saying, I'm sure he didn't make it out, which is, people vastly overestimate what they can get done in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10. And I think the more complex your business gets, the more mature, the more people you get on board, the less you can take on board in terms of projects, because you literally, it's not just you jump on a bus and head off. You've got to get everyone on the bus and get everyone aligned and working together. So yeah, it's the only reason I've learned that through the years, because I'm the same. And we actually have a task template or a thread in Teamwork called Stu's R&D ideas. And the deal goes is I don't get to discuss a single idea with the team until it's sat on the R&D list for at least a week. And it's worked brilliantly, because we just don't have these crazy free radical ideas floating around.
So a good book, and I know you've read this one, Stu, on leadership, is one I'm reading at the moment by Jocko Willink, the Extreme Ownership. Especially if you're building a team of people, and this is definitely a lesson that I've learned. This is actually a really important one. I learned this at the start of the year. Mm-hmm. So the problem we had was a lot of the issues we had in the business were coming to me to solve, and what that meant was I became the bottleneck for solving problems, and the team was asking me for direction rather than solving them themselves. Yeah. So the mindset I had was, okay, well, I'm going to take on all the issues, and that became the leadership style that I had for the business, and just wasn't right. So as we've expanded the team, one of the things that I've needed to do was change to provide a lot more accountability to the team. And it's made a big difference in, I think, my happiness in the business. And Jason, you can probably talk for yourself, but we're getting more stuff done, which is kind of the most important thing. And I'm not carrying around stuff in my head. I get to ask people questions about how they're going with things, and I get to check in on things, and I get to coach and teach people things rather than having a huge laundry list of problems to solve and then never getting to them, because I'm not the expert in all those things, and I have to learn it and fail at it and get experience and then succeed at some later point. So we're spreading the responsibility of improving the business across the team. And I think that's made a big difference.
And it's extreme ownership you're talking about, right?
Extreme ownership, yeah.
I'm just bringing that one. John was asking you. If you ever get a chance to see Jocko Willink, I think he's 6'4", 200 million pounds, and he looks like a Navy SEAL. It's a good book.
The audio book is excellent because
it's read by Jocko, and Jocko reads the book like this.
You can imagine if you went to war, these would be the guys you would take with you because they're just hard asses. They're really hard.
It's so good. It's like, it was a bloody day down in downtown Iraq. It's great. You know, there's some audiobooks where you're just so happy that the author read it. Yeah. Like anything by Malcolm Gladwell, awesome. Yeah. Neil Gaiman's another one who reads his own stuff. Russell Brand, awesome. But Jocko Willink, you're just sitting there going, that's awesome. Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell's podcast is really good too. It's totally off the wall.
Malcolm Gladwell, literally don't listen to Malcolm Gladwell books when you're sleepy. Yeah. It will send you to sleep. He's just got such an amazing voice. Jason, I want to know, what have you learnt, particularly when you decided to go deep on that niche, that family thing? I'd love to know, what have you learnt about what works when engaging, marketing, the services you provide? Just give us a bit of an overview of, you know, if anyone out there is targeting that market, what do they need to know that you've already found out?
Cool. So I'll talk more about engaging marketing. I'm not going to always touch on too much. Okay. We're still learning. But engaging, look, we work, just to give context in case people don't know, we work with young families. Generally they'll have children who are primary school age or younger. And the biggest change that we've made to our engagement process, which is also the best change that we've made, is really asking clients why they're sitting in front of us, why they want. So they might tell me their goals, which is, you know, a certain house or put kids in private school or whatever they are, which all sounds pretty obvious and great, but it's not enough. It's really, really not enough. So we really, really hone in on the why, you know, and everyone's seen that Simon Sinek thing about why, but, you know, so the number one thing for engaging for us is letting clients know that we understand their problems better than they do.
Yeah.
And then understanding really the reasons, so the emotional reasons, their emotional attachment as to why they want to renovate their home or why they want to put their kids to a certain private school or, you know, why they want to save more money, spend less, which is a big problem for most people. So that's probably the number one thing in our engagement. Having a process behind it is super important. So whenever we meet with people, it's always the exact same process. We have effectively 3 meetings as part of our onboarding process, and some video, some face-to-face, depending on what meets clients' needs. But it's all really processed, which means that every client gets the same thing, but also means that we don't cut corners and shortcut and what have you. But yeah, definitely understanding the emotional attachment to the goals people are trying to achieve is really important. And obviously trying to do it through marketing is important too, but it's just a learning that a journey we're still on.
So give me, like, if I turn around, we're having a conversation, I want to ask you a couple of questions about this. And
yeah,
if we're having a conversation and I say, look, I'd like to be independently wealthy by the time I'm 55. What would your next piece on that be? What was your next question or your next?
So it would be like, tell me a bit about that. What does that look like?
And I'd probably say it means that I don't have to worry about money in the bank. We can travel where I want to. And ultimately I just feel really secure about where we're at. Okay.
What would be the best thing about having enough money in the bank when I travel? What's so important about that?
The important part of that is, I just feel like we made it, and we got over the hill, and I could really enjoy life instead of, you know, always worrying about where the next paycheck's coming from.
Okay. And how would you feel if you didn't have to worry about the next paycheck? You felt like you got over the hill in life. How would that make you feel?
That would be the culmination of a lot of hard work coming to fruition. That'd be great. That's awesome, by the way. So just give them a bit of understanding of, like, everybody's watching now. What's just happened there? Because there's 3 phases we've been through, right?
Yeah, totally. So we've kind of started at the high level and just got a concept of, what you're looking for over a period of time, maybe 10 years or so.
Yep.
We've then tried to get context on, we don't have to put exactly numbers to it, but what does it look like? So, when clients say, I want to live in a better home, it's like, well, 4 bedrooms, pool, whatever it might be. In your context, it was, getting you to come up with what it is, what it looks like, so that you have a vision. So it's bringing your vision forward. And then it's getting your emotional attachment to that vision. So, you know, making you feel really excited about achieving that vision.
You guys have worked really hard to get this right. I mean, I think right from when we started working together, this was a real focus. And I think more than anybody else, probably more than anyone else in the program, you have been obsessive about this to the point where you're like tweaking and going back and changing it. I mean, do you feel like you've got it right now?
We're at about 80% maybe.
Okay.
I know there's still bits that we need to add to it.
Yep.
The main bit that we need to add is around the prescriptions.
Okay.
We do it, but we're not, we could do it better.
Okay.
We could do that bit better still.
And what's the difference when you sit in front of clients or just in executing it? What do you feel are the main differences between what you used to do and, you know, what you now do or where you've got to?
So conversations are really, really, really deep. People are showing a lot of emotion in the meeting, and it's not about them, like they don't have to, but they're actually for the first time getting this feeling that they can, you know, live really awesome lives and that we can help them with it.
Yeah.
So it's just, the relationships we have with people they're so much stronger than they ever have.
Yeah.
And they really value the conversation. Michael could ask as well, because Michael comes to a lot of meetings and he sees that maybe differently from the way I see it, because you're not asking the questions as often as I am.
I'll tell you the big difference that I see is that Jason does this summary. So that was your kind of role play, and we've got a role play in there for nothing, which is good. I'm smiling as you guys are role playing. Role playing is hard.
Love it.
The role playing is hard, and nobody feels comfortable role playing.
And Stu didn't tell me we were doing that. So
Jason is literally, I could see him in his eyes. He's like, "Don't do this."
So the one point which is key is Jason does a summary of, and I won't do it as articulately as Jason, but he basically says, so if you were 55 and you had enough money in the bank to live and you could travel where you wanted and you just felt like life had worked out the way it should have by that time,
yeah,
would that be great? And everybody just leans in, and they lean in, and that physical kind of engagement or connection that it creates is really powerful, and it gives you the opportunity to provide them advice because they have got that you've understood them in a really big way personally, and then that gives them the trust to say, yeah, cool, listen, I think you're the right partner to work with.
Love it. Hey, we've got some really good questions. I don't want to miss those questions. We are going to talk about marketing and we are going to talk about staffing and HR, but let's just jump into a couple of questions that have come through. Daniel George's, I think, is probably super relevant now. Daniel says he loves the orange. Well, he thinks the orange wealth model of being very specific is awesome with your service offering. You know, one type of client, one offer. His question is, how do you deal with a situation where a pre-retiree couple, 1.2 million super, debt-free, they want retirement planning advice? He says they could easily be a $5,000 a year client. Would you turn it away? Would you turn them away?
So, I don't know that we'd turn them away.
Okay.
But the reality is, I think it's because of the branding and the communication, the way we people know who we are. We don't get that referral. We very, very rarely get that referral. We did recently have someone come to us who was pretty much retired, and they had a meeting with us, and we knew them through a friend, and we did have a meeting with them, but like Michael, you can get your opinion. I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
We don't turn them away. The answer is we don't turn them away, but we're not built to service them.
Yeah.
From an engagement perspective. So we can do the advice. The technical part of the advice is not a challenge to do, but our engagement process is really focused on us finding our ideal client. And that means that when we sit in front of them, we're really strong. But then we've got to find as many of them as we need to fill our pipeline. So that's the challenge of it. So we really when we sit in front of the couple with a couple of kids, like it's a very, very, very confident conversation, because we kind of know where the conversation is going. We've done it so many times. What we did do though at the start of this year is open up our process to allow us to sell to other people as well, to provide services to other people as well. And that has been good. We're still developing that part of it. So we don't just offer one model now, but we don't necessarily promote that we've got 3 models either.
Yeah.
We kind of lead them along the way and recommend the right model for the right service model for that particular client.
It's good. You know what? Any conversation I have with businesses, niching is always the one that people push back on. And they always come with this thing, how can I say no to people? And I want to flip it around and say, it's not about saying no, it's about gearing up your business. So for exactly that, the marketing is focused on trying to talk to a certain market instead of everybody. When you bring somebody on board, you can explain their problems better than they can, because you've got deep experiences. So it's that, you know, and if you get this right, it's not a case of you saying no to everybody. It's a case that everybody who walks through your door is the people you want to work with. And it doesn't happen overnight, but that's, yeah, it's not a saying no thing. It's more a gearing the business up to attract the people you want to work with, right?
We know our clients' problems probably better than they know them when they first walk in the door.
Yeah.
Because we see them across so many of the same types of clients, and they relate to that. And they also relate to us having the same problems that either they're going through now or they're going to go through in the future. And that builds trust pretty quickly.
I bet you've got a list, haven't you?
Yeah.
The problem.
It is the 20 most common problems that our clients have. I love it. You know, I'm going to pull Jason. Brian, we'll get around to your question shortly. By the way, who do you guys use for outsourcing, just out of interest?
VA Platinum.
VA Platinum.
Brian Jones.
That's Brian, right?
Brian Jones is an amazing.
I don't think Brian would forgive me if we didn't mention it, but no,
I didn't realise that.
Brian is on the call.
While I've been on the webinar, asking me to plug him. So
there you go.
Sorry, Brian, I'm just stuck you in it.
Look, and to not, in all seriousness, everybody I've heard who's been using VA Platinum's had a pretty good experience. So I don't know, you must have some good staff in the background there, Brian. Yeah. Okay. James asked a great question. The frustrations of process. Beyond a great title for a book. Let's dude, I hope you got a microphone. Because James, are you there?
He's on mute, Stu.
He's on mute. I'm trying to unmute him, but he's not giving me. James, what do you mean by frustrations of process?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. With that.
I suppose that we all struggle with getting the process right in our practices. And I think as the industry changes, we have to often morph our processes to meet those changes. And I know I've spoken with Jason Michael about this, so probably not a surprise I asked.
Can you speak up a bit, James?
I said it's probably not a surprise I asked this question, because I've spoken to the guys about this a bit. So it's about, you know, how do they keep on top of their processes? You know, how do they adapt their processes as things change within the industry?
Gotcha.
Any things that they've done well or things that could do better from a process point of view, etc.
I feel like this might be a Michael question.
Yeah,
Totally.
Okay.
So we've done process a few times, as you'd expect, and it's not a one-off thing. It's a continuous activity. The first time we did it, we had a support staff member in the office that Jason was working with, and we got that person to help us I kind of gave them a structure, and then they kind of wrote a whole bunch of process. But what we didn't realize until later was that they were the only ones following the process, and they weren't really necessarily following it. They'd just written it down. So I kind of figure, for me, we actually didn't have process at the time. We just had people who knew how to do their particular jobs, even though we had stuff written down. The big turning point was when we hired more than one person, where we had 2 people supporting Jason in the financial advice process. Yep. And they had different roles. So they were doing chunks of the process each, rather than going from the start of maybe client engagement through to, you know, a piece of advice being created,
Yeah.
everything broke. And Stu, you've kind of, I think you've got some stats on or numbers on when you add staff to the business, how things break. Well, for us at 3 people, Jason and 2 support people, it all broke. And the outcome of that was that we let our response times were really slow and the quality was poor as well. Plus, at that time, we had a whole rush of new clients come in.
Yeah.
So we felt pretty crap about the whole thing. So we kind of started. Jay, would you say we started again with the process at that point?
Yeah, definitely.
James,
we brought in the whole. One thing that we designed was a process about creating processes, and then because the other thing was people built their own processes, but because they were so different, still.
Yeah. So I think we put in a framework, and then we taught the framework. This is at the same time that I was changing my mindset around giving accountability to people too. So it all kind of culminated at the same point. We had some frustrations in the business because we weren't living up to our standard of service or the quality that we wanted to provide people, our clients. And we had new staff on board. And I needed to give stuff off my list to other people so that we could grow the business in a scalable way. So we built a framework, which was, you helped us with that framework. Then we recorded it using the new systems that we wanted to put in place. So we've got Guru as our kind of knowledge repository.
Yeah.
So we use Guru, and we recorded videos on Loom as well.
I've got to, by the way, sorry to interrupt. If anyone's using Guru, double check the pricing, because I went to look at how much it costs now, and I think they're at about $380 a month. I kid you not. So I think there's a legacy pricing in there. Right? Thanks. There's a legacy pricing in there, but I've started doing a bit of research, and I found a Guru alternative called Zuzu, zuzu.ai. Reached out. It was free. So I signed up. I'm like, okay, I'm not putting all my stuff into a free thing. Anyway, I made contact with the guy who built it. There's a guy called Jay Kumar out of India. Lovely chap, having a chat. He's sort of, we're doing a bit of work together, but love you to check it out. Anybody who's on the call and they're, using Guru or whatever, it looks like a really good Guru alternative, and it's free at the moment.
Yeah, we're definitely legacy pricing. We're definitely.
Definitely keep an eye on that.
$5 a user a month. It's
380 is crazy. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, we wouldn't be on it. We wouldn't be on it for that.
Pam, Sweet Process is a good one. There's a few of them. Process Street, Sweet Process. There's Guru, Zuzu. Use Sweet Process. It's good, but the big problem I have with Sweet Process, I don't know what you guys think about this. It sits outside your daily workstation, so you literally have to open a different site. Whereas with Guru and Zuzu, it's actually a good Chrome extension.
So Guru, I think Guru is working well for us now. We implemented it twice as well. The first time we implemented it, we didn't use it. And now I think we've had a mental shift to making the team accountable for cards that they execute on. So, this is the biggest smile that I can have is when I'm in the office and Jason's talking to one of the team at BA Platinum, and Jason's saying, "Well, have you checked the Guru card? What does the Guru card say? Well, let's go through it. Let's update it." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is great!"
You're a monster.
I get a kick out of that kind of stuff.
That's more because I'm not the best at the process.
It's great. The one thing I love about plugging Zuzu, you can actually staff can actually ask a question through Zuzu, and I can write the answer, and it gets added as a card. So
you can do that in Guru.
Going on, but.
So what was James' question?
I don't know what
I kind of feel like we've gone off track for James.
We have totally gone off track, yeah.
So you need to bring me back because I can't.
So because zuzu.ai. In the interest of not upsetting Michael's sense of order any further, let's talk about staffing and HR.
Okay. James, sorry if I haven't answered your question.
Yeah, let's talk about, you guys have been through a few iterations. Eventually you've settled on BA Platinum. Plug that one again. But yeah, talk to me about what you've learned about staffing, HR, what's good, what's not good, what doesn't work.
Jay, why don't you start, Jay, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, cool. Okay. We've kind of gone through heaps of different options. We've had people in the office. Now we have effectively 5 people, if you like, that are all outside of our office. So Michael and I sit together, and the rest of the team's remote, virtual. I think it's been a big learning. The one thing that I'll come back to, which is Mike and I say this all the time at the moment, we're the most happy we've been with our team, we're most confident in our team as it is today compared to it has been in the past. But I think it's documenting processes, allowing the team to take ownership. So as opposed to the team just doing tasks, actually taking ownership, trying to build their own area and make it more efficient. I think that's really, really been helpful.
Yep.
Jay, what were the problems that you found with some of the first rounds of going overseas or remote with staff?
So training was super hard.
Yeah, training.
So getting people up to speed in the way that we work is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Some of the things which I didn't expect to have to, I didn't expect to go so wrong were things like quality. So attention to detail and quality. We found a lot of problems in that space. Definitely prioritizing. So we all, regardless of what job we have within any business, most of us have more jobs to do in a day than we can fit in. And it's so different for our team. So a huge thing is for the team to know what is the priority to work on versus what's not. And that communication's really important. So we actually, these days we do it every day. What's the priority for the day? And we do it every week as well, but every day we kind of get a bit of a glimpse of it. So that were the challenges, definitely. But yeah, me expecting people to have things done, and especially expectations.
Okay.
Expectations is a huge one.
I think often there's a feeling that Jason could get it done faster if he just did it himself, that feeling is the worst feeling, because you don't feel like you're getting ahead with it. You feel like you're failing at setting up this team. We basically set up the team from scratch again this year, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We had our first staff member moved to Japan in November last year. And then we had someone in the Philippines that wasn't working out, so she moved on in January. We had another lady start with us in January in the office.
Yep.
She moved on for personal reasons a few months ago. While we've been setting up this team with Brian in the Philippines. And we actually had a team member leave quite recently as well. So we've churned through lots of different people. Actually, I remember some advice that someone told Jason and I before we had hired our first staff member. He's got a team of 50 people, so he's a big financial advice business.
What's his name? Paul. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Paul Kearney.
Paul Kearney, I think. Yeah.
He said, whatever you do, your first hires, you'll always you won't make the right decision with your first hires. We're probably on to our fifth or sixth, and we're still learning heaps of stuff.
I think when you first hire people, there's a certain naivety around it. It's like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. And I think as you go on, you make a couple of mistakes, and you realize, okay, you look at it with fresh eyes. And then I think when you do get someone great, and you can recognize their potential, and you can see that they care as much about the business, it makes it that much sweeter. Yeah.
So I think our attitude towards hiring now is about being able to take on some responsibility for parts of our business.
Yeah.
And for being able to improve parts of our business within their role in an ongoing way.
Yeah.
We have, a couple of things we do to help with that. We have a monthly retrospective where we, all of the team members sit down and we just go through what's working well, what's not working well, what puzzles us and what needs to be improved. And the thing that drives is the next month's worth of, what project should we work on as a team to improve things? Because the team knows the problems. They feel it every day. And if you get 2 months in a row with the same thing, then, I feel like I'm not doing the right job because I'm not helping push through it. So there's a whole bunch of kind of tools or techniques that we've kind of come across along the way that help us improve communication, prioritization, the process and quality stuff. There's heaps of checklists in the business now that never used to be there.
Yeah.
We love checklists. It's great. Whenever I see people going through checklists, I'm like, this is excellent. You just got to, I don't think you can listen to a conversation like this and just start putting stuff in. You've got to feel some of the pains to understand what your problems are to then go about solving them. At least that was our experience.
One of the things that we say is the quicker we feel like, effectively, the quicker we try stuff, fail stuff, the quicker we're going to be successful with it. So you got to get in there, feel the pain, then come out the other end. Yeah.
It's like experiment a lot, experiment cheaply, and don't fall in love with your own ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I think, what is this? Stephen King has this thing about kill your darlings. It's like wherever possible, just kill them, because while you think it's a good idea, if the data or the actual reality of it is not showing up, then you need to be willing to sacrifice them.
The thing that hurts us the most is when we feel like we've let a client down, even if the client doesn't necessarily feel that way. That gives us the biggest emotional feeling, but it also spurs the deepest thinking about how to solve it.
There's a couple of questions I definitely want to ask. Can we talk a bit about is it worth touching on the little phone campaign you did recently?
Oh, this is
ring around. Yeah, when we sat down and had that conversation, and you were.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, happy to talk about
that conversation. I think you got on the blower and you were like, you know what? We feel like we're letting clients down.
Yeah.
We feel like we're just not delivering on our promise. And I listened to it and I was like, okay, fine. Let's sit down. I'm happy to work with you guys and revise this offer and all the rest of it. But first, we should probably just double check as to whether that's actually a thing or whether it's just inside your head, right? And I think Jason was like, what do you mean? I said, well, let's just choose, I think 10 or 15 of these people that you feel you're letting down, give them a call and ask some questions. Do you want to pick it up here?
Yeah, for sure. So we had we thought that clients' expectations were, actually we didn't know the client's expectations. So as part of our engagement process, we weren't initially anyway, this is clients we signed up probably 18 months ago, etc. We weren't being really clear about what their expectations were and weren't really clear about what we were, I'm not saying what we were offering, but making sure that we were meeting everyone's expectations. So for a while there, I was like, well, if I don't know their expectations, I just feel like I'm not meeting them. I feel like we're letting clients down. So that was an assumption. And Stu's thought was, well, let's just go and ask them. Easier. So, so I did. I called a whole bunch of clients and asked them, how they're going. I said, what's working well, what's not working? Is there anything else we could do for you that we're not? Most clients either said, hey, I really want to come see you, and have come in and we've done new advice for, or have said, hey, look, it's really on us. We've been so busy. We apologize for not engaging you as much as we said we would. So my assumption was wrong. Broadly speaking, my assumption was wrong. There are some clients that we probably weren't engaging as much, and they weren't engaged with us as much, and that's probably because of different reasons, which is cool. That's part of it. I think that's a natural attrition that's going to be there. But for the most part, especially the really good clients that I thought I was letting down, they actually thought they were letting me down.
Love it.
And our business has changed as well over that period. So clients that we see today, their expectation of the service they get from us is different to clients we saw 18 months ago and signed up, because we've worked a lot on improving the service that we provide, and part of that is telling people about that when they first come in to see us. But we may not have gone back and had that conversation with some of the clients who signed up early on. So that's part of our kind of communication process we need to work through as well.
And that's, I think, where you're at now. You're going back and transitioning the old world clients, which are still very, the advice that you give them back then is still very, still great. But I think you guys are so confident in the way you do it now that it's like, you know what, we need to bring them across. And
it's actually about the service. It's not about the specifics of the advice. It's about the service we offer and supporting them through making decisions and a whole bunch of other stuff. And some of them probably just don't know how much they can or should engage with us. So yeah, I think I'm kind of excited about re-engaging with some of those clients in a deep way.
That's good.
Stu, you've got the saying. I can't remember it off the top of my head, so I'll put you on the spot for you to remember your own saying.
Go on.
But the one about if clients don't see a future.
Yeah, clients. That's not mine. It's actually it's Taki Moore. He said it. I was in a workshop and he said, "What you have to understand about retention is this simple thing: clients will leave you when they run out of future." And this is particularly important for businesses that service Gen X and Gen Y. And you do a bunch of work, maybe you sort the cash flow out, and that looks okay, or you get the insurance in place. And if you're not spotting that point where they're feeling like full or oh, we're done, and you're not actively engaging, going, so you're at this stage and there's this stage, and if we get this right, we get to go on that stage. In other words, now we're at a stage where we can start to use some of that capital and reinvest and start to build up a portfolio and ride. If you don't sort of paint a picture of what's ahead, they don't see it. And so one of the communication pieces, particularly with businesses like yours, is you've got to be constantly thinking about what's the next level ahead for my clients, what's the next step, and what's the next step if you want to retain them long term. Yeah, that was a really long-winded way of saying what you wanted me to say, right?
Thought you were going to say 5 words.
3 more questions that I want to ask. The first one, John Mancera asked. I feel like this is a bit of self-promotion, so I'm going to hit record. But he wants to know, I think we know where they were. How has what we've worked on helped you guys to gain traction, efficiencies? Presumptuously, I'm assuming it has. But anyway, I'll hand it over to you.
So we talk about the sales.
Yeah. So Michael's probably got different benefit out of the working with you and the team. And I say the team because it actually includes all the businesses in the program. Mine one's definitely the sales engagement. So that little role play we did before. I put a lot. So you give us a framework to work within, and you have all of the online modules, right? And you and I have done one-on-ones. We've done role plays together. You come to the office and done role plays with me, Stu, right? So we really worked on getting this to where it is. But our sales engagement process for a new client is, I'm going to say we're at 80%, but at 80%, it's amazing. I love it. I think it's excellent. And every time a client comes in that is within anywhere close to our ideal client, I know that they're going to be clients for a long, long time. And that has come out of, your coaching and the role plays that we do, but it's also come off the modules and all of the pre-work that you've done, so that I could get in there, learn it, tweak it to our business. So our sales engagement process is awesome, and it's definitely because of the work we've done with your business. So.
Thanks, man.
So for me, I'll give it. There's probably heaps, right? But I'll give a couple. I love the catch-ups with everybody. I love hearing everybody's stories. I learn heaps from someone who's not been in the industry my whole career. I learn heaps from talking with the rest of the crew and understanding what they're working on or what they're going through or where they've been. It's like, I reckon 50% of the value I get is from that, because their insights, it's like this conversation, their insights into things that you could do differently. And then the other thing, I know there's lots of modules and I won't talk about any specific ones, but is that it shortcuts me getting to the outcome that I need. So when we started and when we were kind of in the early stages, I would do a whole bunch of research about a topic. I would skim the surface and I would jump online and read lots of articles and try and learn about it. And then I would speak to somebody else and do the same research on a different topic. And I would do it over and over and over again. I would never get deep on anything. I'd never get anything done. Yeah. So I really like having someone to tell me to prioritize and to say 6 is too many, we should do 3. And I think we're kind of we're in agreement now.
Yep.
A year and a half years. But then also a shortcut, giving me a pattern or a shortcut or a framework from getting to the idea or the topic that I want to deliver on to actually starting to execute it. That's really key.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. But I think the underlying thing is, I remember when we first started doing this, you guys were just like, right, we've got the project management methodology, put it on the wall, you had your post-it notes. And at the end of the day, you can give 2 businesses exactly the same content, but at the end of the day, you grab it, you run with it, you book in the time, you have these engagements with the team, you're very, very clear about it, and your execution is top notch. So at the end of the day, you the guys have put it into play, and that's what's sort of very satisfying to see that sort of.
So that's the advantage of having me in Jason as a team, because I'm not giving advice. So my role is to do the projects, and I think I spoke to someone in the program. I can't remember who it was early on. They didn't quite understand why I was there, which is it was a fair conversation. But we are trying to scale our business, and we're trying to do it faster than we would have otherwise done it if we were both on the tools.
Absolutely.
And I won't ever be on the tools. It's not my intention to ever be an advisor. But we are trying to grow the business to a scale that is quicker than what we would have done if we didn't have this structure. Plus, we're also playing to our strengths, I think. Which is,
I think you've been able to fight this battle on two fronts, which is one is the engagement piece. The second front is to make sure the back office is sorted. And I think there's a balancing game to be had. You don't want to be playing too much in the system space when your focus needs to be on revenue. But I think now you're in a position where a lot of the things that businesses who'd be at your stage now have to think about, you've already built part of it. So you can start to accelerate the journey a little bit more, which is going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
PJ, I've got two more questions. PJ, great question. PJ Cameron says, I love your focus on the human soul elements of advice. These challenges change decision-making outcomes and therefore lives. I totally agree. But how do you quantify the value of advice when it comes to the fee discussion? Good question.
Good question.
So she's got this module, right? And what you're now kidding. But Stu does have the module, right? The 20%, 10%, 50%, other one, yeah?
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. So
the value group one, right?
Value good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we have to go, right, what's the financial benefit? Am I providing at least 5, 10 or 20 times value? Yep.
Yeah. But for a client, so I'll give, without role playing, if a client comes to me and says, in the next 10 years, I want to live in a house that's worth X amount of money, looks like this, and the outcome of that is I get to have amazing family experiences. It's a central hub for my kids to bring their friends and have heaps of family memories. And I give my kids the best opportunity in life through the education that's important for them and similar things. And we go on holidays all the time and we get to create memories. I'm trying to do it quickly, right? So when a client tells me those things and I turn around and say, cool, I'm going to make that happen with you. We're going to partner together and you're going to have that outcome. And I'm going to charge you a fee. They don't care the fee because they told me that they want to have all these family memories and they want to have their kids bring their friends over and play in the pool, and they want to make sure their kids get the best opportunity in life through what they call as a good education. Whatever you charge, $5,000, $20,000, a few grand, is nothing compared to those outcomes. So we don't have a conversation about what the fee is. Clients generally haven't said, oh, that's too expensive. No client said it's too expensive, maybe we should charge more. Yeah. But I think you don't need to talk about your fee if you are able to get clients to talk about their real outcomes they're after. So family memories and stuff like that.
It's like, have you ever seen that YouTube advert, It's Not About the Nail? If you haven't, go and check it out. It's this great short film of this girl. She's got a nail in her head.
Yeah, I have actually.
Can't work it out what the heck. It's just an achy feeling. He goes, well, you've got a nail in your head. And she goes, it's just like you're always trying to solve my problems. But I guess the point is people don't come to advise, they don't really, they don't want to roll their super over and they don't necessarily want to bookkeep, but they want the deeper stage benefits of that. And when you can, I think when you can connect with that and say, well, this isn't actually about the super, this is about this thing you want to do and the outcome you want and taking charge and acting like an adult and working towards these things. Different proposition, different fee sensitivity equation.
I think there's
one thing, Michael, give me 1 sec, but if they don't have a vision, Stu, we're talking about this, right, as well. Yeah. If they haven't got a vision, they can't design the emotion and find the emotional attachments to things. Yeah. That we can't partner with them. Doesn't work.
So no vision, no plan.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
A couple of process things as well. So one is we test the fee with them in the first meeting, but we don't confirm it. So we give them a range. At that point, if they're not happy to pay for advice, they'll just say, we'll think about it, right? So that's their opt-out. At the end of the first conversation, we give them a range of fee. And we will say whereabouts we think it is, but we'll come back and confirm it once we've done some work.
Great.
There was another point, but I've lost it. But I think that's a good way to kind of pre-commit them to what the fee is that's coming.
And
pacing's a big thing too.
Pacing, yeah. The other one is that we try and solve their number one problem.
Beautiful.
So there's value in solving their number one problem. And if they think they're going to get an outcome on the reason that they came to see us, then the outcome is what they're looking for. And they tend to be really time poor people that we work with. So they can't go and do a lot of work. They're not going to go and see lots of different advisors to try and work out what the difference between fees are. If they think it's reasonable for what their problem is they're solving, they'll go for it. And
what is your range? Would you mind sharing?
I'll share it, and you'll love this because the way I share it. It is between $7,000 and $3,500.
Perfect. Okay, good. And everyone always asks, why do you put the big number first? And we'll, if anyone wants to know that, you can ask Jason. He'll tell you. Last question, which is a doozy, given what we've just spoken about from Brian from VA Platinum. Their vision. What's your vision for yourselves 5 years from now? Where do you want the business to be? Where do you want to be?
You go, Jay.
Okay, cool. So we've done this a couple of times, sitting in Stu's program on different tables, and we always say the exact same thing, which is really good. But we want a business that has something around, and we always put this bid in. As we grow, we may change this to be bigger numbers or whatever, but we generally want something around a business that supports 5 planners.
Yep.
Working with somewhere around 100 or so clients each, ongoing, and a team that's going to allow for that, which we're not sure exactly how many people in the team you would need on top of the 5 planners and what have you. That's kind of the numbers, what they might look like from the people point of view. One of the things that we all talk about in the business, or all in the program talk about, is having a business that that you could step away for, say, 2 months and the business would continue to run.
Yep.
So all processed, etc. And then on top of that, which is probably almost more important, and Mike and I try to do this regularly on a Friday, but we want a business that's really fun to be in. We want to be able to, be really enjoying what we're doing. We don't want to be, really stressed about things, and there are stresses, but we're not trying to create something that is, for lack of a better word, is really painful to be growing. We want to be having a cracking good time, and helping clients out along the way.
Love it. Okay. One final question, unless there's any others, by the way. This has been awesome. I'd love, while I'm asking this final question, do me a favor, type in the box, because I know these guys have got very, very fragile egos. They really need feedback to feel good about themselves. So just tell them what's been the most useful thing that you've heard today. What's been the one thing that you think has been most impressive, inspiring, or interesting, or useful? But the final question from me, unless there's others, gents, why on earth did you call it Orange Wealth?
I thought you would ask this question early.
No, I was keeping that one to the end.
Look, I'll tell you the true story. It started with Jason's previous business was called Peak Financial Advisors.
Yep.
Shit name. It's a really shit name. It's too long, and he had to spell it whenever he was giving his email out. So we had a few rules. Had to be short, had to be memorable, and we didn't want it to be the stuffy stereotype of financial advice businesses.
And easy to spell.
Yeah.
Wall Street Capital Partners is out then.
Yeah, that's right.
No, do you know what's out? A Durate's out.
And that's all we have time for.
So we tried to find something fresh that could mean different things to different people. And, when we started the business, we didn't know our assumptions about the business have totally changed through the last 3 years. So the name has been pretty good for us and we really love it. But it does feel fresh and it's different and it's younger than what we think the stereotype of the industry is, and it can grow with us, which is cool.
Love it. And as Kelly says, makes the point, let's hope you never have to do a jingle that rhymes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you are staffed and nothing rhymes with orange.
Nothing rhymes with orange, yeah.
Although, Kelly, I'll tell you, there is a mountain in Wales near where I used to live called the Blorange. That's my understanding, the only thing that rhymes, but obviously that's Welsh, so it doesn't count. Glenn says they're real focused on the target market following process. Do you have an orange coloured foyer? You have an orange colored curtain behind you. It looks like you're about to step into.
It's by total chance because we're in a new office space and they just put it's like a managed office space. They've just put this curtain in the meeting room. So I decided to turn from the white wall to this wall to help. Now, what colour's our foyer? It's green. Floor's green. Yeah.
Green.
Nice foyer though.
That doesn't work then, does it? John's feedback. By the way, please pop in the box. What's been the most useful thing? So we can just get an understanding. So these guys can get an understanding as well of what they is probably the most useful thing from an external point of view that they've shared today. John says, great work, loves your commitment to staying relevant, particularly your commitment to the engagement process and making the experience remarkable. Love that, John. Mark, great interview. Love your honest and natural persona. Such nice guys. You must get seriously, every time I speak to about, Michael and Jason, they're lovely guys. I'm like, yeah. It's been mentioned before. Got a lot out of it, but mostly around building the team and how you've adapted to the challenge. Mark says, thank you very much. Gents, I'll wade in. The things that I've loved working with you guys is A, the way you implement, B, the fact that you take total ownership of it. You're just like, right, mistakes and all, it doesn't matter, we're going to get in there and you make it happen. But I just love the fact that you've built a business that kind of reflects your personality. You've obviously got this great relationship that it's hard to believe sometimes you're not like best friends as well as brothers, but I think those are probably the three things. And you can just see the stuff that you've implemented is you've implemented with absolute commitment to get it done. And as a result, you've built a business which is just seems like from the outside, you're looking in, it just like seems such an enjoyable business to be part of. Now, there's challenges, but I always get the sense that you actually really, really like what you do. Yeah,
we do. We love it. I love coming into work. It's great.
Elizabeth says, I heard the first Orange Wealth interview, influential in joining Stu's program. There you go. Gratitude. There is process and projects. Perfect, Elizabeth. Pam says, love how you guys are having fun and so real and honest. And Kelly says she loved the role play. Delving deep makes sense. Role play is one of the most painful things to do, but you know what? It works. It really does work.
Yeah.
Cool. Gents, that's all I wanted to cover off today. I guess the key question is if anybody on the webinar wants to know more about you, or if, is there one thing you want them to do or look for, or alternatively, if they come across clients who sort of match your target market that they don't deal with, how can they get in contact with you, follow you, whatever the case may be?
Email is probably the fastest way. Michael@orangewealth.com.au or jason@orangewealth.com.au. We are slowly working with a marketing company trying to build a YouTube channel out, but it doesn't exist there in a way that you can subscribe to it yet. So I would love to put that out there today, but maybe another time. Just contact us on email. Happy to have a chat with anybody. We love this stuff, right? So we can talk about this stuff the whole day. It's our lives. It's what we do. It's not just a job for us. So,
And you guys you're in St Kilda still? Or?
We're in St Kilda, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if anybody's in St Kilda, I've never asked you, who's your team?
Who's our team?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Do you follow the AFL?
We're Bomb supporters, so
right.
They just missed out this year, but looking good for next year after years in the dark.
There's always next year. Any final thoughts, anything you'd like people to do or look out for? Anything you're particularly passionate about around what's going on right now?
I think for me, the biggest influence at the moment is that book that I'm reading. I check that out. It's quite entertaining, and I've learned heaps from it about managing teams and people. So yeah,
this is this bad boy here, right?
Yeah. It's a fun listen on Audible. So yeah,
it is. It's really hard to tell the difference between Jocko and Lee.
I'm confused by who they are. So yeah, they sound.
It's kind of weird when you think about like a really tough Navy SEAL. His name's like Leaf.
Yeah,
see why he changed the spelling, right?
I will say one thing, which we actually got from Michael, and I got this from one of our clients. But I think Stu, and he got it from Dan Sullivan, right? Whether you do it at the beginning of the year, so kind of January time, try to book out a bunch of holidays throughout the year.
Yeah,
that are pre-done, in the diary, etc. Michael and I do it. We do it a bit ad hoc, but we do get away. Sometimes together, but sometimes separately as well. And having something like that to look forward to, kind of pre-done in the calendar, that was a really big thing for us over the last couple of years. And I think that whenever we both come back from our breaks, we have so much energy and we drive real hard because of it. So anyway, that'd be one thing I'd make a suggestion on.
Yeah, I think I got it from Jack DeLosa actually, and he said go up into the mountains, hire a cabin, go somewhere where there's no phone reception, and spend 3 days. And it's usually the most productive 3 days of the whole quarter. I think energy recharge is also really important. Gents, thank you so much for your time. This has been even better than I thought it was going to be. What's on for the rest of the day?
Well, we're going to have Michael just come back from holiday, so I want to hear how the holiday's been.
Cool.
And I guess debrief on what's been happening for the last week or so.
Sweet. Well, I will not take up any more of your time. Thanks again for turning up. Have a great weekend, gents. I hope it's an awesome one. Everybody who turned up, thanks very much for coming. And Brian says, brilliant presentation. There you go, gents. No preparation, just on screen. Love it. Cool. I will leave it there, shall we?
Thanks, mate.
Cool.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon. Bye.
See you soon.